Yo, what's good, Joe? It's your man, the Bigga P, and just want to talk about the fights that happened yesterday, the doubleheader that was on HBO. First of all, if you're wondering, what's all this? What am I wearing right now? Is because recently, last week, I did Warrior Dash. Because I'm a big fan of obstacle courses and keeping in shape and all that wonderful stuff that goes in between. So, I did it, and it was the first one I've actually done, and it was real cool. I did it in less than an hour, thank goodness, and I didn't get hurt. I was sore as anything, but I got through it with only a scraped up right knee. Um, but yeah, it was cool. Got to the line. I got this hat. I got this. I got this Warrior Dash shirt. So it was real cool. So I was like, and I just saw it on the right of me as I was getting things set up. So I was like, let me just put this on, and just to amuse myself. I'm also proud of it too, because I think because I just seeing all this, I'm thinking like, damn, this is like they really go all out for this. And yeah, I'll definitely be doing more of them in the future. But yeah, let me get back to our topic with the doubleheader. First thing that they said, first fight was Adonis Stevenson versus Tavoris Cloud. Now Stevenson, no, like I said, Stevenson has earned my respect way before this fight. But before I just saw Stevenson as just a regular hard hitting fighter because he was campaigning at 168. And one of the things about him, I didn't think he really had any boxing ability because for the most part, a lot of his fights were just, he was just overwhelming cats with his power. Save for the one blip that he had against Darnell Bloom about 3 years ago, where he got killed in the second round. I saw that grainy footage, and it was a legit loss. And even then, and even though he took a big risk of even facing Boone again, because Boone was his boogeyman, and Boone could have possibly derailed him even further by because just the fact that he actually had that win, but he did he stopped him, and before he went on to his title shot against Chad Dawson, which he won with the first round knockout. But even then, there was a lot of questions still unanswered. Was Stevenson just was it just the right place at the right time, or was it just, or is he gonna be like a one-shot wonder? Well, Stevenson answered all those questions last night. Because I had Chad, excuse me. I thought Tavares would actually be able to pull it out. Because I was thinking, because hey, Stevenson's actually been KO'd, and Cloud I've never so much as even seen wobbled by a punch. So I'm thinking with Stevenson's type of style that he would actually play into Cloud's hands and eventually, and wipe him out. I have to say that I was wrong. I was very wrong. Cloud was thoroughly outboxed, and I always thought Cloud was the actual better boxer too between them. Stevenson just varied his slipping punches, beautiful head movement, beautiful combinations. The left hand, which made an impact right in the first round, closed up Tavares' eye. It was just good body work and lateral movement. I think that was the big thing that killed Cloud more than anything, because Cloud just goes forward. Cloud for whatever reason, has good power. He's a good puncher, but lateral movement for whatever reason troubles him. I mean, and it was apparent in the Campillo fights, and it was made apparent with Hopkins fight. That's because that's basically what they used to get it. I mean, if Campillo, of course, didn't go down in those twice in the first round, he probably would have gotten a decision, and probably would have took the belt before Bernard did. So it was just that lack of lateral movement, and Stevenson, took advantage of it. Beautiful counters, beautiful set up beautiful shots to the body, wore him down to the body. Cloud was just and Cloud was taking those shots. I mean, make no mistake about it. Cloud was taking those shots. Cloud showed a good chin. Like, I mean, the only time he really started stumbling was because he was taking the shots to the body, and he couldn't take them that well. And then I don't know if it was the 6th or the 7th round. I believe Stevenson cut the other eye. So he was a mess, and Steve Cloud was taking a beating, and his corner was just like after that one, the Cloud corner was just like, yeah, it's a wrap. It was done. And I couldn't help but be very thoroughly impressed by Stevenson because I just didn't expect that type of boxing ability. I mean, yeah, he's from the Crunk. He's one of the last. I would say he's one of the last shining examples of the Crunk right now. And my hats off to him. Like he fought a brilliant fight. Actually, in a fight where I thought I was expecting an actual slugfest. He showed very well above average boxing ability, and hopefully fights probably against Hopkins or Kovalev are in the future. Those are the two fights that because like I said, the Stevenson Kovalev fight would be an absolute that to me would be a good pay-per-view event, or at least it would be a good pay-per-view main event. For what I don't know, but Stevenson Kovalev would be fireworks. It would be, or even Stevenson Hopkins. Probably Hopkins gets past Marat. Is it next month? Probably this month or next month. I forget. Which he probably will. Because but yeah, Hopkins. But there are fights for Stevenson at 175, and my hat's off to him. As for Cloud, I mean, I'm a fan of Cloud. I've been a fan for a while, but I think probably more than anything, I think it's time for Cloud to get a new trainer. He needs a new trainer badly because he's looked bad in his since the Campillo fight, and it's he's a talent, and I hate to see his career go down the drain because of stuff that could easily be corrected by possibly a new trainer. So, I mean, hopefully at some point, hopefully after this, they switch gears. Don Don doesn't really have any more champions, and Tavares was probably his most out there. He's probably the most out there fighter currently, him or Stavern. But yeah, it was. But yeah, it was a good fight, and like I said, my hat's off to Stevenson, and he continues to, do his thing at 175. Then we go to the main event in California, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Bryan Vera. Now there was all types of nonsense going on, and here's the thing, here's why Chavez absolutely just disgusts me as a fighter. Chavez has the benefits of a lot of things. Because number one, his last name, of course. His father is one of the all-time living legends in the sport, and he has Aram as his promoter, and Chavez. I mean, if he's gonna lose, he has to be to someone that's not gonna damage the brand. Which of course is Sergio fight. Sergio was seen as a top guy, and Sergio beat the crap out of him. Barring the fool's gold in the last round. So Junior knows this early, and for shown very lackadaisical habits towards his training, the funny stuff with the weigh-ins, all types of stuff. And this fight was no different. I mean, originally, I think this was contracted. It was a super. I mean, it wasn't a middle. I think it was contracted at 162 or something like that. It was a super middle fight, and then of course he couldn't make it, so they upped it to 168. Fine, 168, do it, and he couldn't make it. So they set it just to make sure, they cancel the fight because HBO right now is in the middle of possibly, trying to finish out strong for this year after having Showtime pretty much kick its ass for the summertime and the latter part of the spring. So they couldn't afford to have this fight being canceled because they already had Hay and Fury being canceled over what Hay did, in sparring with no headgear a week before the fight. But that's another time. That's another topic. They couldn't, so they forced the contract away with 173, and even then there were rumors like, oh no, Chavez can't make it. Now, I mean, Chavez has been out of the ring for a year. It's like, what has he been doing? Like, what has he really been doing with himself for a year? Like, usually after a defeat like that, you'd be like, oh yes, yes, I need to get a new trainer. I need to work on my skills. I need to work on my fitness. So my fitness. So none of these things will be a liability when I face a top fighter again. And it wasn't, he was in the article talk about, yes, it's not an important fight. If it was, the next fight I go into, yes, I'll make way for it. I mean, shows total disrespect for the sport of boxing. For every other fighter who's killed themselves, some have had their careers ended because of weight mismanagement. Some have actually been killed because of trying to make weight for the fight because they know how important it was. And Chavez just goes on, just, oh yeah, I'll pay whatever money, I'll pay whatever fine, I'll contract at this weight, and that's gonna be that. And it's disgusting. And Bryan Vera did something. I mean, Bryan Vera is a tough guy. Considering how he started his career to where he is now, it's almost like, it's a very, it's a great story. Because Bryan Vera was a simple brawler who has who's pulled off upsets before, who's pulled off, very noticeable upsets. And I know like, he trained hard for that. He trained for, he trained for super middle, and of course he was. When that changed, all he had to do was just eat. He was good. He was good to eat while Junior was in saunas and being dehydrated and whatever. So he made the weight. God knows how he did it. Once again, because Chavez, Chavez's ways of making weight are always suspicious. I always suspect that he should always have something in the system or he has something to speed it up, but except for that one fight, it's never the case. But he made the contract the weight, and even then, I'm like worried because like the weight difference could be crazy because now he's feasibly because Junior has weighed in at middle and is coming at cruiser, and come fight night. And you wonder is like how much of a weight differential is going to be. Well, in a fight, Vera, of course, they didn't announce They didn't announce the fight night weights exactly, because they didn't want the outrage, obviously. So, Chavez came in there. Chavez looked absolutely drawn at the weigh-in. And comes in, he's all fella. He looks like basically a small heavyweight, a big cruiser, small heavyweight, and it's like in Vera. Vera was probably a cruiser at that point too, but you could see that Chavez probably outweighed him by at least a good 20 pounds. He looked huge, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this is gonna be Gotti Gamache again, because Vera is not the most defensive person. But the fight itself, Vera, for the most part, it was clear that Vera trained heavily for this fight. Basically what the story was, Vera outworked him. Chavez got gassed by like the fourth round and was reduced to throwing one or two combinations and plodding around, very minimal head movement, breathing hard. And that was the thing because he couldn't. Usually what he does is he tries to smother people and then he lets go of combinations, but he wasn't trained. He wasn't trained enough to actually execute his own game plan, which is hilarious to me. He plotted forward, tried to smother him against the door, try to use his weight, and try to get him off for one shot. And like I said, Vera's been KO'd before. I think a couple times. And, he takes shots. But Vera took them surprisingly well. And, was just outworking. Hit him with numerous hard right hands over and over again. Probably the only, there were some round, if I wanted to score off effective punching, Vera was the most effective puncher. Probably with an exception of the seventh round where, Chavez made Vera do a little dance after a hook. Vera wasn't really in any trouble during the fight. He outworked him. He smothered him He smothered the majority of the fight. And Chavez is over there gassing, trademarks under his eyes, bleeding, complaining, bitching to the ref. for legal body shots. And this is when you started realizing that, man, Vera might actually pull this off. And yeah, it was just disgraceful. Just overall disgraceful behavior. When that bell rang, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, let's see. Vera won it on my card by at least. If I wanted to be do effective punching, it would be like 4 rounds. I'd give, you know, that Vera won the fight. So when the scores were read, it was 96-94. Okay, you can see that as it is, and then 97-93. Nah, and then you have the outrageous score of 98-92. And then some judge actually saw the fight going 8-2 for Chavez, which is like, really? You're really gonna score that fight 8-2 for Chavez, who pretty much gassed out after the 4th round and has nothing, with the exception of one hook after that, even bothered Vera? Really? You hate to see robberies. I mean, in boxing, I've watched boxing for a long time. Robberies happen. They happen for various reasons. In this particular case, I mean, it's not too hard to figure out why Junior got the decision. He's a Chavez. He's a name. They're not gonna let someone like that go down in defeat on national TV and hurt his brand even more. And it's disgusting. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting. Vera fought his heart out. Vera deserved that victory and the rewards that would come with it, which is probably a shot at one of the 168 champions. And he still deserves it. I mean, Vera deserves. I mean, I know Vera probably got paid something handsomely for this fight. I'm guessing probably in the range of maybe $750,000. Which is probably, like I said, he got his career payday, because Vera did risk his career and probably risked his career and his prime in this fight. And like I said, I mean, he took some shots, but he didn't take anything to the point where I'd say, man, he's going to be damaged. And that's what I was fearing that was going to happen, because due to the size differential. But Vera, I mean, other than the showboating or whatever, Vera took him, and Vera did this thing, and my props, big props to him for actually lasting the 10 rounds with this Chavez, with this untrained small heavyweight version of Chavez. And it's disgusting that he just got robbed blind. I saw some of the scores. I guess Boxing Scene posted up picture of the official scorecards, and you shake your head, because they knew what some of them forgot that, oh yeah, we're not supposed to be objective. Chavez has to win the fight, barring a knockout or disqualification or something like that. But it's just absolutely, it was heartbreaking to actually see Vera just get jobbed like that. I mean, but it's boxing. You know how it is. Robberies occur. When robberies occur, it's to occur for one reason: to protect the cash cow. And Chavez is a cash cow, and Vera is not. And I'm hoping more than anything that Chavez is caught with something in his blood, in his post-fight drug test, so this atrocity could be a no contest, because Vera didn't deserve to lose this fight in any sense of the word. I mean, as for Vera, Vera's gonna applaud on. Like I said, he's a named fighter. I mean, he's not a draw, but he's a named fighter. I mean, he could probably go between 160 and 168. And he probably has he has fights there. So he's not like he's without fights. He'll continue on, and this probably raised his stock dramatically. As for Chavez, his stock should go down as a fighter. It did. At best, I always thought Junior was a very moderately talented fighter. The only thing that I thought was above average was the fact he had a chin. That's probably the only thing. He could take shots. He gets beaten up because he has bad defense, but he could take shots. and mostly because he takes shots because he fights in divisions where he has the advantage because he drains down to divisions where they know the punching power probably can't affect him all that much. Majority fights in his career. I really hope more than anything, I hope Junior gets stretched. I'm tired of him disrespecting the sport of boxing and playing the game for a guy who's not overly talented. I mean, he's fighting. Junior's. I mean, is fighting. I don't see him going down to middleweight for whatever reason. I mean, he's gonna be fighting at 160 and 175, and the top dogs in that division are pretty. They do hit pretty hard. They're actually legit 168. Pound fighters. 168, 175. So I'm just hoping that Chavez will get a shot. They're probably gonna go the Bigga route since Chavez ain't winning a decision in Germany against Stieglitz, and that's if the Ward fight comes off. If the Ward fight comes off, barring what Ward does next month, Ward will punish him too, but Bigga as tough as he is wild, so I could see them going after him, try at least get the belt off Bigga before going to, before going after Ward or maybe even Froch even. Ward and Froch I know would probably beat the shit out of Junior. There's no question about it. Bigga can do it too because Bigga is also a tough guy, but Bigga is not as fundamentally sound as Ward and Froch. So, like I said, I just hope that like I said, he faces a top fighter and then they can give Junior the beating he rightfully deserves. Because, like I said, I'm tired of his bullshit. I'm tired of him disrespecting. I'm tired of the dodgy weigh-ins, the post for the fuckery around his post-fight drug test. I'm tired of all that stuff with him. And like I said, karma will come back to him soon enough. But that's about it. Like I said, we're on a HBO started off their stretch of good fights, of some possible fight of the year candidates after Showtime's been on their ass, after having a great summer and then latter part of the spring. So, yep. Till next time. All right. Peace.